Okay guys, welcome back to my channel. This is a video that I have been planning to do since October, and I'm excited that I'm finally filming it because I finally took the time out of my day to film it because it is going to be a long video. Okay, I am filming this in a new location that I kind of discovered in my room where I could like film videos. I would film this in front of my bookshelf, but my bookshelf currently looks like this because it's empty. But I am going to be doing everything I read in 2021 plus reviews. Now a lot of these books I've like reviewed in past videos. I might just kind of like glance over them, but I'm going to show you the book, maybe like give like a description and then give my Goodreads rating, which I rated it right after I read it. So let's get started. I have sorted the books. I have pulled them all out from my shelf and sorted them into piles. We have 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, and then just shadow and bone books, which are its own categories. So I literally took out a laundry basket so I could transport the books from my shelves to where I'm sitting. Okay, I'm just gonna have to like manually do all of this, which is going to be a pain in the butt. In total this year I read 39 books and my goal was 25. Now some of these books I read for school and some of them were just like small random ones, so I will include those because I did read those, but I'm not gonna like give a complete review of those because y'all don't want to hear a review of Animal Farm, trust me. First we're gonna start with the 3-star reviews. Oh wait, first we need to do 2 stars. My only 2-star book was Normal People by Sally Rooney. I strongly dislike that book. I know it's a lot of people's like comfort books, but I didn't like it. First of all, there were no quotations, which made it so confusing for me to read. I'm not going to go into depth on that because if you've read that book, you know, but it's supposed to depict like real life relationships and things like that, and I just wasn't really a fan of that. Now on to the 3-star books. First, we have They Both Die at the End. This was a 3 stars because it didn't live up to the TikTok hype, according to my review. This book was just extremely overhyped on TikTok that when I read it, my expectations were through the roof, and I kind of learned from that book because I was like, my expectations cannot be high or else I would be disappointed, like that one Spider-Man quote. But anyway, 3 stars for this book. Next, we have Wilder Girls. This is more of a 3-star than this book. This book was a 3 stars because it was overhyped and my expectations were very high, but this was like actually a 3-star read. I found this book on TikTok, like majority of the books that I read, and it was like a very mediocre book. Like if you imagine what a 3-star book would be, it would be this book. It's basically about this girl who's like kind of living in an abandoned house, like an orphanage type situation, and they get their like food through packages, and it's a little bit creepy, and I read it in like one day, but like it's definitely a 3 stars. Next 3-star book was Kingdom of the Wicked. I read this one very recently, like it's like the last book that I read of 2021. It's a very surface level book, I think, basically about this girl who makes a deal with the devil kind of, and kind of like sells her soul type of situation. Not my favorite because I don't like books about the devil, and a little bit on the creepy side at the beginning, but then once I got into it I was like completely fine. 3 stars because the characters were okay. The plot was very surface level. I think the author kind of want to focus this on like the relationships, so 3-star book. Also, if you haven't noticed, I read a lot of fantasy. Like I don't read romance, literally read YA fantasy. Moving on, another 3-star book, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. 3-star book because it took me forever to read and it was so slow paced. I would say like the last 100 pages are like a 5 out of 5, but I just can't ignore the first 300 pages where it was just excruciatingly slow and painful to read. These books are popular, so I didn't give reviews because if you're watching this video, you've probably heard of these books already. The next 3 stars, I'm going to look on here because I don't have physical copies of them. Politics in the English Language by George Orwell. Self-explanatory. The next 3-star is The Vanishing Half, which is about, it was like one of like the 2020 Goodreads like best books of the year. It was okay. I wrote that it just like, it wasn't a bad book, it's just like not what I normally read, and I just personally didn't like it. But my rating is like completely a personal preference and nothing to do with like the style or like the characters itself. The next 3 stars, Light in August by William Faulkner, which I read for English class and absolutely hated it. Did I hate it? I would say I strongly disliked it. The last 3-star is A Streetcar Named Desire, which I also read for English class. That book was actually kind of, it's like more of a play, and it was kind of interesting. Probably would rate it a 4 stars, but it's about this two sisters who like both have abusive significant others, and it's kind of messy, and it's set in like New Orleans in like the 1900s, I believe. Now, moving on to the 4 stars. Now this is getting good, guys. Oh no, I'm dropping all of them. Okay, hold on, I got this. These are my 4-star reads. We're gonna start off with the first book that I read of the year, which was Lovely War by Julie Berry. This is like a Greek historical fiction. It's like told from like Aphrodite's point of view, and like she kind of like interferes with the main characters. I'm giving it a 4 because I thought it was a really good book. It just took me a really long time to read and kind of get into it. Like I would have to go back and like reread pages because I forgot what happened or didn't really understand the last chapter. But overall, a very good book. Next 4-star, Red, White, and oh my gosh, this book is so much lighter compared to this book. This book is like paper. This is like a rock. This is a 4-star because it felt very fanfiction-y to me, and this is like one of those like romance books that's like recommended all over TikTok, but it just felt very fanfiction-y to me, and I don't really like that. These are my like annotations, if you can see that. I would recommend it if you want to like get out of a reading slump, because this book takes no brain power to read. Like you can just read it with your eyes closed and you won't have to comprehend anything because it's such an easy read that it will put you out of reading slump. So yes, I do recommend this book. Okay, now we're getting into the series, the fantasy series. 4 stars is Scythe. This series I'm obsessed with. I really enjoyed it. The first 2 books I read back to back in like 4 days. Absolutely obsessed with the last 2 books. But I rated this one a 4 stars. Let's see why I rated it 4 stars. Oh, it was because the beginning was slow paced, but the last ones were good. I said in my Goodreads review, I said that it would be a 5 out of 5, but the beginning was slow and boring. It's such a good book. It's an enemies to lovers, but romance is just a subplot, which is my favorite. If you have recommendations where enemies to lovers is a subplot, please recommend them. I absolutely love those. It's like dystopian. People read this in 6th grade at my school, and I'm reading it as a 12th grader. It's basically set in a world where like you have these scythe who kill a certain amount of people every year, and like people can like train to become scythe. This like girl and a guy train and blah blah blah, but you get the point. A great book. It is the 2nd book of the series, Thunderhead. As you can see, I have a lot more annotations. I think this was like one of the books that really got me to start annotating my books like heavily. Oh my goodness, I remember reading these books, and I was reading them in the car on my Kindle, like when we were doing our little road trip during the summer down the East Coast, and I just remember like freaking out the whole car ride as I was reading the last 2 books. So good. It's just a continuation of the first book. More stuff happens. Next is The Wicked King. This is the 2nd book in the Folk of the Air series. I have Cruel Prince, but Issa has it right now, so that is also in this 4-star category. I also really love this series. A lot of people hate on it and I don't know why, but personally I love it also because it's enemies to lovers and it's a subplot, and I like the whole like, I don't want to spoil it, I'm not gonna say it, but really great book if you like fantasy and enemies to lovers and just like badass women. This book is it. The next book is Shadow and Bone. This is the collector's edition, which I bought for like $30. It was so expensive, but it's worth it. Look at how pretty this cover is. I'm not a fan of the pages because the pages are white. It's really strange to me because if you like look in a book, the pages aren't white. They're like yellowish. This has white pages. I actually didn't read this version. This version is, okay, you know what? I was gonna pull these out because putting it back into this case is actually a struggle, but I'm gonna do it for y'all. Shadow and Bone, annotations. So good. Read so many good fantasy series this year, and it satisfied my craving so much. And I also watched the TV show after I read it, and I was thoroughly satisfied. Those are my 4-star books. Moving on to the 5 stars. Oh wait, hold on. We have the books that I read on my Kindle. Okay, let's go through those. 4 stars is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I reviewed this book in one of my previous videos. Not as good. Expectations were too high, but the ending is a really big plot twist. So if you like murder mysteries, read this book. Next 4 stars was The Midnight Library. Again, this was like one of those books that was like the Goodreads 2020 recommended books, and I thought it was really good actually. And I literally did like one of my English projects on this book because it corresponds with like the theme that we were learning, but it's about this girl who's like in a library after she like commits suicide, and each of the books is like basically an alternate life she could have had. Another one is Fences, which I read for English class, and it's about the relationship between this man and a husband. This man and a wife. It's a play. That's basically all. Another book is A Dollhouse by Henrik Ibsen. Another book I read for English class. I'm not gonna explain that. We're gonna continue on with the 5-star books. My favorite, guys. So these 5-star books I am absolutely obsessed with. I rarely rate books of 5 stars because 5 stars is like the best book ever, hands down, no questions asked. So at the beginning of the year, I reread the whole Harry Potter series and rated it all a 5 out of 5. So I'm not going to explain every single individual Harry Potter book, but what I will do is they're so heavy. Just hold them up for you guys. I think this was at the time where I kind of just like rated every book a 5 out of 5 stars. Okay, here they are. I read the first 6. I didn't get to the 7th one, but I reread all of those, and I reread them because I was preparing for my New York trip, which we took, and we visited the huge like Harry Potter store, and I kind of wanted to reread it to get like in the mood in like preparation for that. So that's why I reread the Harry Potter books. Moving on. Now these books are 5 out of 5. We're gonna start off strong. 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Everyone rates this book a 5 out of 5. If you don't rate this book a 5 out of 5, you didn't read the book. You simply didn't. A 5 out of 5. It's about this girl who literally had 7 husbands, and it tells the story of each of them, but there's like the subplot under all of those husbands, and it's just so good, and the ending is a complete plot twist. If you haven't read this book, I don't know what you're doing, go and read it. Next is The Toll. This is the 3rd book in the Arc of Scythe series. So good. People didn't like this one because the 2 main characters were kind of separated, and they were like having their own journey, and they kind of just meet at the end. But personally, I liked that, and I think it just made the ending so much better. It's like the thickest book out of the both of them, I believe. So many annotations. Like, look at that. Everything was so good about this book. This book had me screaming in the car. Like, I was like, holy fuck, this is not happening right now. Go read this book, guys. Not this one, but read the whole series just so you can get to the 3rd book. Continuing on, this is The Queen of Nothing, also the 3rd book in the Folk of the Air series. So good. Just everything about this book is such a quick read. I read it in one day, and I also read this one in the car. They must have a common theme, but I read this in the car, dropped the book. The ending, I was just like, I think I was gonna cry in the car, but so good. Please read this series just so you can get to this book. I promise it's worth it. People find the first 2 books hard to read. This book is so good. Please go read it, guys. Next, we have Chain of Gold, the 2nd book in the Last Hour series. Cassandra Clare books are always a 5 out of 5, no matter what. I can rate Chain of Iron, which I believe is, well, whatever the 3rd book is, it's already gonna be a 5 out of 5. This book is so good. I read it at the beginning of the year. The new year is coming up, which means the 3rd book is gonna be released soon, and I'm so excited. I look forward to her books every single year, and they're my absolute favorite. Oh, what it's about is like this girl who, oh my god, and the romance is so good. Like, it is a slow burn. When I tell you it's a slow burn, it's a slow burn. It's a slow burn, but I just remembered the ending and like goodbye. It's so good. Please go read it. Next 5 out of 5 is The Song of Achilles. This book is also very popular on Book Talk, and for good reason. It's a good book. I love Greek mythology in the first place, and so it kind of just combines that. It's like Greek mythology x romance, I would say, but so good. So good. Just so good. Do I have to say anything else? The next 5 stars is kind of random and doesn't really fit into my theme of 5 stars. The Great Gatsby. This is not the book. This is like Great Gatsby plus like 5 other F. Scott Fitzgerald books. The Great Gatsby. I personally love this book. I don't know why, but it just really, when I was reading it, I was like wow, this book is like good. I know the author is kind of questionable. I think he like abused his wife, so we're not supporting that. The book itself I personally loved. I think I watched like the first 30 minutes of like the movie with Leo DiCaprio, but I didn't end up finishing it because I don't really like it. But the book, however, is really good, and I think you should read it. It's a quick read too. It only has like 100 something pages in it, I believe. Go read this book. And look at how pretty this special edition cover is. Like, hello, and then the spine is gold. What do they call that again? Gray gold? I don't know. The pages are gold, and it came with like one of those bookmarks, which I don't like these. Like, I like the idea of them, but I don't like them itself, which is kind of interesting. Anyways, moving on. We have Dune. Now, this was an interesting book, that's to say the least. I haven't even watched the movie yet because I don't want the movie to ruin my perception of the book. People had a struggle reading this. People didn't like it, people didn't understand it, and people hated on it, but not me. I loved this book. I found people struggling with this book and took it as a challenge to read it and completely understand it. And I would say I understand like 90% of this book, which you might be watching this and be like 90%, that's like not that much, but it is if you read this book. I love this book. Obviously Timothée Chalamet was a main reason that I read this book. Trust me, if you read this book and imagine Timothée Chalamet in your head as Paul, it's bearable. It's bearable. And you imagine Zendaya, what more do you need to read this book? You just literally watch the movie in your head of Timothée Chalamet fighting worms. That's it. Okay, finish up this little book haul. I didn't do all the books because I kind of got lazy halfway through and didn't do the books that I read on my Kindle, but that's okay. Now these last two books absolutely destroyed me, and Six of Crows. I could probably cry thinking about them right now. If I had to choose any like my favorite book out of like all of them, it would be Chain of Iron or Six of Crows. The best books. Six of Crows, mind-blowing. I have never read any book like Six of Crows ever. The characters are perfect. The plot is perfect. Everything about this book is perfect. Like, when I read this book, I was mind-blown because I had never read anything like it. And I kind of like before this year, I kind of stuck to like YA dystopian kind of fields, and that's kind of like the really basic Shadowhunters, Twilight, like all those books. So my mind was not expanded, you know? But this book, so good. It's about these like 6 characters who are basically going on a heist, and I didn't think I would like it because when you look at the cover, you kind of like get this perception of like what the book might be, but it's not like that at all. If you read this book, I read that part in English class when I was like in first period at 7:30 in the morning. Okay, that concludes this everything I read in 2021. Hopefully I read more. My next video, or like in my next couple of videos, I'm doing a huge book haul because I recently just bought so many books. That's how many books I bought. Each one is an ISBN number because I ordered them online. I'm gonna read so many good books next year. I think this is about like 20 books ish, so that's already like over half of my reading goal for next year. So I'm gonna read all of them and I'll be set for like a majority of the year. I'm also going to college and I'm trying to read as many books as I possibly can because I'm not gonna be able to read in college. I just like won't have time. I'm so excited. I'm gonna read so much this summer. Look out for more book videos. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I certainly did, and I love talking about books, and I hope you guys read some of the books that I recommended. Hopefully inspired you to read more or get some good book recommendation. That's all for today's video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Let's try this. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.